Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for the second half of week 3, stage number 4. Very quick takeaway from the last couple of days. Um, Man, not feeling great about a lot of the teams. I think that we're very far away, it seems, from having people who have mastered this meta. I mean, San Francisco looks the closest, and then it's kind of quite the fall after that. People were thinking Gladiators maybe earlier on. They have looked pretty discombobulated the last couple of days. Decay has no idea how to use a Blizzard as May. New York still looks pretty bad. They barely beat Hangzhou, who also looks pretty rough. Spitfire have definitely not gotten all the kinks out yet. They really choked away their series against the Titans. Dynasty, same thing. They lost to Guangzhou. Guangzhou looks good, but not like top tier. So there's still a lot of sorting out to do with the last couple of games. And I mean, some teams like Gladiators and I believe Philly, yeah, Philly and a couple other teams only have 2 matches left for the regular season, and then it's it, and it's into playoffs. So it's very interesting. I think that some of these teams need to not play exactly what they think the meta is, because I don't think the meta is completely set yet. I don't think this composition of the Orisa, like mostly what we've seen the last couple of days is like the Orisa um, with Diva, and then the supports really switch off a lot. But you see Batiste, you see Ana, a lot of Moira Lucio. Moira Lucio has become the most popular one, but it's not uncommon to see Batiste from some teams on some maps, as well as the occasional Ana. Obviously, Mercy if they're running a Pharah. That's mostly on like Volskaya though, or if you're the Dragons. Um, Dragons look pretty bad as well. They do not look like they have this figured out either. So we might see some very interesting matchups in the play-in tournament and even in like the first round or two of the playoffs. Um, because yeah, we've seen the May and the Reaper was like the thing yesterday. It seemed like last week and yesterday on Thursday, it seemed like a lot of teams were playing Hanzo May a lot. But then some have decided to go with the Reaper instead. So we'll see how it kind of shakes out. Um, but honestly, I'm kind of disappointed in some teams like New York and a couple of the others that they're not just playing something different. Play a 2-2-2 that you're really good at and see how it matches up. But maybe they are in scrims and it's just not panning out at all. I don't know. I don't want these good teams to be slaves to the meta if they're not good at it, you know. But it's gonna be a very interesting last couple of weeks setting up these playoffs, because a lot of the top, some of the teams very high in the standings are looking pretty rough. So, with that being said, we're going to get into the predictions for today. Houston Outlaws taking on London Spitfire. So, London coming off 2 losses in a row. Like I said, they essentially had the Titans beat. They're up 2-1. All they had to do was stop them on one last, pretty much desperation push in on Route 66, and they kind of blew it, and they just let Vancouver walk through. Essentially, they got the completion, and then they ran through 2 points with only 1 minute, and then they had to go to a map 5, and it was all downhill from there. So, to be fair, they're down to 15 and 11. So they lose a couple more, and they could drop out of the top 6, which is pretty crazy to think about. Although all they have to do is win one more. They win one more game, and they're essentially locked in. And this is their chance against Houston. Houston, they're sitting at 9 and 16. If they win out and Chengdu loses out, depending on how the maps shake out, they could still or Atlanta, because Atlanta's 12 and 12. So if Atlanta loses their last 4, highly unlikely, um, then Houston could find their way in if they win out, depending on the map differential. Like I said, so it's the definition of a must win. Is out there for them. So looking at the maps, I'm gonna say London. Houston. I don't, they looked good in their match against the Gladiators, but then they've had other games where they just kind of threw them away. They didn't look very good against Atlanta. I don't really trust them. We've seen the switching in and out. I don't think their May Reaper is particularly strong. And I just think that London, even though they did choke against the Titans, they did play them very close. They dominated them on maps 1 and 3, the maps that they won. So I just don't really see Houston winning this one unless Spitfire really doesn't come to play. I'm going to say Spitfire take this one 3-1. Then you got Seoul Dynasty, lost a absolute heartbreaker to the Guangzhou Charge. That knocked them down to 13 and 12. That's a massive blow to their top six chances. But luckily for them, the Spark lost, knocking them down to 14 and 10. The Spitfire lost, so they're 15 and 11. So Seoul still has a chance to reach that top six. Their map differential is still plus 13, which is very good for what their overall record is. So it's still there for the taking for Seoul, but they got to finish strong. They got to win some of these matches. I think they will get it done. I was a little bit disappointed in Toronto against the Mayhem. Um, it seems like it still hasn't really coalesced yet. They did release their head coach Bishop a couple days before the match. Maybe that threw them off a bit because they did not seem to be playing quite as well as they did their last couple of weeks. And credit to Mayhem, the Mayhem did play very well. Um, Fate and Gargoyle are turning out to be a pretty darn solid tank line. So much better than Swan and Zephyr. So and we've seen the rest of the Florida have their bright spots like Hagopian. BQB has had some good matches, some bad, but there have been flashes of good from him, and Saya Player has had great moments as well. So I like Seoul. I think they'll take this one. It's the interesting thing about this match is both teams. I feel like their map one is generally their strongest. So I think if Seoul wins map one, we could see this turn into a 4-0. I think Toronto will snag map one though, and then Seoul will take care of business after that. And they win it overall 3-1. Side note about this one, Seoul, if you seriously think that Illicit is better than Fleta, at least on Pharah, then you are absolutely delusional. I watched that last map with Illicit in on the Pharah basically the whole time. And he is not close to as good as Fleta on that hero. So there's probably other reasons, but if anyone out there truly believes that he's better, at least on Pharah, I'm not talking about overall. I'm not talking about like May. I'm not talking about the other heroes that are useful for this meta. I'm talking straight just Pharah. It's not close. Um, so side note about that. But like I said, I think Seoul will take this one pretty easily and get that 14th win of the year. Then it's the Florida Mayhem taking on the LA Valiant. So coming into this stage, you would have thought, oh, this is a stomp, Valiant win, easy clap. Well, we'll see. Valiant they've looked decent, but not amazing in this meta. Florida has won their last couple of matches. Like I said, they beat a improved Toronto team, which is pretty impressive after they pretty much manhandled the Spitfire 3-0. So this is not your 2-19 Florida Mayhem through the first three stages. This is a dangerous team. That being said, I still think Valiant are a little bit better overall. I really like Space's Roadhog. I think that Fact Fiction is solid on the Orisa. I like their damage dealers and their coordination in general. They got great leadership from their supports and Kariv and Custa. So, well, I think that Florida will make some clutch plays. They might dominate one map. I think their ceiling might be a little higher, honestly. Um, and Junkertown will be scary. But I like the Valiant in the end here. I think they end up going to 5. I think this is 2-2 after 4, and they need one more map to close it out, and the Valiant will do so. They will clutch it out because, I mean, they're essentially in must-win territory. They're sitting in 14th right now. With a couple of bad matches from the Hunters or the Rain, they could definitely find themselves in that 12th spot, but they got to keep winning. And I think they will in a close one. Speaking of Chengdu, they are playing up against the Hangzhou Spark. So the Spark looked, I would say they looked a bit improved against New York. There were at least some signs of good stuff going on, but overall, the Godsby Adora combo doesn't impress me that much. Gushui and Rhea have been solid, but Rhea's been pretty much a non-factor. Like, I don't think he's even played Roadhog. I don't remember seeing him on Roadhog at all. It's been like pretty much all Diva. So that could give Chengdu a advantage. We'll see how that kind of plays, that dynamic plays out. But Chengdu's been playing well this stage. I mean, they're 3-1. Spark have yet to win a match. I think this one will be relatively close, but I like Chengdu. They're playing better Overwatch. I think they have a better lock on this meta. The Yang Xiaolong slash Bacon Jack, and then Jinmu combination seems to be very, very skilled at this meta. They have a very high ceiling on their DPS heroes, so I like them there. Hanzhou has a better tank line in my eyes, so I think that they take at least a map here. But in the end, I like Chengdu taking this one 3-1. And if Hangzhou does lose that match, that'll knock them down to 14-11, and that will make it very interesting for top six because Philadelphia is 14-12. I'm about to talk about. Um, the Dynasty are 13-12. Shanghai's 13-12. So it could get real. It could get real close there, with a couple weeks to go. But we got Philadelphia Fusion and we got Vancouver Titans. So Vancouver decided to swap out Hureg and put Stitch back in, and I think that was a good decision. I think that the Titans definitely have a good coaching staff because they looked better easily against the Spitfire. Most of the reason why I picked the Spitfire to win that match is because the DPS matchup of Hureg and Hexel versus um, Birdring and Prophet. But they put in Stitch. He looked pretty darn good on like the Doomfist, on the Sombra if need be. Um, so that already made Vancouver better in my book. However, they haven't really been running the Reaper and the May much. This could be a very telling match to see what kind of which comp is stronger because Vancouver hasn't run so much on the Reaper and the May, and Philly's run it a lot. EQO has been the standout player on the team. I've said this more than once, and I was pretty critical. I was always a anti EQO hype guy last year. I was like, he's really good, but he's not as good as everyone's making him out to be. But he really is kind of carrying the team right now. Honestly, he's a very good May player, and he has been rock solid for them this stage. All that being said, I like Vancouver here. Um, in terms of just the clutch factor and just the ability to win matches and win maps and win fights that they kind of shouldn't. Vancouver has done that all season long. It's a big reason why they're 23-2. Especially this stage, they haven't been able to dominate teams like they did in the earlier stages, but they have been able to clutch out many victories. In terms of Philly, it's kind of been the opposite. They've gone to a bunch of map fives that they shouldn't have. They've lost a decent amount of those map fives. So while Philly should be able to give Vancouver a good fight and has the ability to win this match, I think that Vancouver will end up clutching it out. I'm going to say very close, but it's a 3-1. I don't think they quite make it to 5 this time. And we got the Washington Justice taking on the Houston Outlaws. So this is another one that's like, oh, easy clap, Houston wins. But wait, Washington's 4-0 this stage. They've looked very good in this meta. Um, and I'm going to take them. I think that it's pretty clear that they've been just playing better Overwatch in general. Corey and Stratus continue to build their synergy as a duo. We saw Sleepy come back for a map and he looked really good, but Guido has been solid as well. Arc has struggled on the Batista a bit, but has been playing well on the Lucio. Um, when it's required. So I like Washington here. Like again, their tanks are Sansam is way better at Roadhog than he is on Diva. So this has been a very beneficial meta to the Justice. I think is honestly this stage could save some people's jobs in the organization. It could save some potentially even careers on that team. I think guys like Corey and Sleepy, Stratus, those type of guys were gonna be fine. But for like Giannis and Sansam, this has been kind of a redemption arc for this stage. So we will see what happens with them next year, if Washington keeps them on, or if Washington does decide to release them, which I think they probably will. Will they be able to find something somewhere else? So that being said, I got Justice. I see this one as another 3-1. I think Houston will probably take Kings Row, but other than that, it's all Justice here, and they go to 5-0 on the stage. And then we got Sam Fran Shock taking on the Dallas Fuel. Man, Dallas is so close. They were up 2-0 on the Gladiators, and then it just kind of fell apart. They got pretty well dominated in the second half of that series, and now they're down to 10 and 14. I mean, they pretty much have to win their last four if they want to make it, and I just don't see it here. Like I said, San Francisco, they look like the best team in the league. The only weak spot, honestly, for their whole team right now, it seems like Moth isn't as good on this meta. He was more suited for goats. He's still not bad, but he's made some mistakes here and there, especially on the Batiste. And then Architect. Architect has been a little suspect for me on every hero he's played, but Rascal has been a superstar on the Mei and the Pharah. Maybe we see some more of Sinatra instead of Architect on a couple of maps here. We'll see. But even with this lineup, I trust San Francisco to just take care of business. I see this one as a 4-0 sweep. And the last match of the week, we got the Guangzhou Charge taking on the New York Excel. So, I mean, Guangzhou looks better. They definitely look better right now. Um, that being said, I'm gonna actually go with New York here. I think New York wins it in five. I think that they've solidified their lineup. They didn't really swap in any of their DPSs that they have been, say Biobi and Flower. Those switches just haven't really worked out. We will see because they're playing on Anubis and Flower. That is the map that Flower has played on when he has played the last couple times for New York. But I think they're going to stick to their six. I wouldn't mind seeing, say, Biolby on maybe a control map or two, but if they want to just stick with Libero and Ney, I can also see the logic there. Um, I think that New York is just they're good enough and experienced enough that they can kind of survive the, forgive the pun, but like the charges from Guangzhou. They're gonna make some runs. They're going to win multiple fights in a row. They're gonna maybe blow up a map or two. But I think in the end, New York is going to be able to win the close maps, and they're gonna go 2-2. It's going to go to that tiebreaker, and I like New York in the end. Jonak has looked almost revived in this last stage. I think he looked good, but not nearly at his level in the goats meta. But these last couple times on the Ana and the Zen, he's looked incredible. Mono and Mego continue to be absolute beasts. Libero, I think, is a very good Mei. So I like New York here, even though Guangzhou is looking real strong. I think that they take it in a nail biter, map 5. So that is week 3. Then after that, we just got week 4, and then the rivalry week. It's crazy. The end is coming. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I know some people are complaining about it because they say, oh, it's the least skilled DPS heroes and this is GOATS 2.0. I'm of the mindset of it's just different. This is just different Overwatch, and for the moment, I'm really enjoying it. The chaotic nature of these fights. We'll see how the meta solidifies. I don't think it's fully set in stone yet, but yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the matches. I hope your teams are doing well. Thank you guys very much for watching, and then I'll see you in the next one.